Hello, I'm Jim Cornwall, and this is the WalkingPost.com podcast. WalkingPost.com is the news website dedicated to walking, with all the latest on gear, books, trails, festivals, events, health, fitness, and more. This podcast is number 58, and it's going live on August the 14th. Heatwave number 4, is it now? It's even warm here in Scotland, but of course no clear skies for the eclipse this past week. Watching it on the news isn't really the same thing. We were filming in St Andrews last week, not the one in Canada, the one in Scotland, and I was attacked twice. Once by a very angry wasp, and the other was a very hungry herring gull that flew into my head to try and knock a sandwich out of my hand just as I took a bite. It was like being punched, but I did hold on to the sandwich. There are signs everywhere saying don't feed the gulls. Well, I managed not to, just. I wasn't even angry, they are just hungry. It always amazes me how people get mad at animals going after food or coming into urban areas. We've destroyed their habitat, what are they supposed to do? Anyway, moving along, let's have a look at August the 14th. It's World Lizard Day. It's Tattoo Removal Day, and the only way that I could do that is if I had one in the first place. It's also Pakistan Independence Day. When you look back over what happened on this day in history, it's all wars and massacres, depressing stuff. But on this day in 1893, France became the first country to introduce motor vehicle registration. I imagine that was a pretty easy job in the early days. It's the day offshore pirate radio was made illegal in the UK. That was in 1967. I did used to enjoy listening to Radio Luxembourg and sometimes Radio Caroline as well, depending on the weather. For birthdays of people you might have heard of, we have David Crosby of Crosby, Stills and Nash, Steve Martin, Magic Johnson, and Sarah Brightman. I did see something interesting related to that a couple of weeks ago, and it was a page of 4 autographs of musicians. But what was unusual was that it wasn't in a traditional autograph book. It was in a book from the early part of the 1900s, and it was called a birthday book. And I thought that it was brilliant. So the idea is kind of like a cross between an autograph book and a diary. So when you ask somebody to sign your autograph book, they sign it on the page of their birthday. A great idea, and I think one that should be brought back. Last time on the podcast, we talked about a new book called Walking from Home to Rome, with its author Geraldine McFall. This week we're heading to a walking festival, although not literally, but it is the Dorking Walking Festival, so I guess we're talking Dorking walking. And that's a conversation with Jo McGowan, the Dorking Business Improvement District Manager. But before we do get going, if you do have news, guest ideas, or even subjects to cover, or comments, or if you want to advertise, please do get in touch via walkingpost.com. or you can just email me at jim@walkingpost.com. Normally we would go through the headlines of the articles over at walkingpost.com in the past week, but as there weren't the usual number, I think we'll just skip it. But of course, please do head over to the website and check out the news. And so let's get to this week's interview. It's a conversation with Jo McGowan, Business Improvement District Manager for Dorking, a place that has a walking festival coming up in September. So let's find out some more. Hi Jo, thanks so much for being with us on the podcast, and perhaps you could tell us a bit about what you do and about Dorking for those who haven't been there.
I'm Jo. I'm the Business Improvement District Manager for Dorking, which is in Surrey, but specifically it's on the sort of the edge of the Surrey Hills, an area of outstanding natural beauty. So, yeah, I think when people think of Surrey, they possibly don't always think about the fact that it's got this lovely area, which, encompasses Box Hill, Leith Hill, several other areas which are just so picturesque and so beautiful. And Dorking is basically a bit of a gateway to that. It's a sort of a historical market town, and you are literally surrounded by countryside. You can stand in the middle of the high street and turn 360 and you will just see hills, countryside, and that filters through into the town. It's a beautiful town. It's got a lot of significant architecture there. A lot of them are listed buildings. It's a conservation area. So it's a really beautiful place to spend time, both in the town and the surrounding countryside as well.
Does that surprise people?
I think it does to some degree. I mean, I've lived in and around Surrey for all of my life, really. But my husband's from Yorkshire, and we actually got married in Dorking. Long before I had the job there, we got married at the Burford Bridge Hotel, which is at the foot of Box Hill. And a lot of his family obviously were from Yorkshire, and they came down and they just kept saying, we did not realise that Surrey was so beautiful and that it had all this landscape around it. So they were quite taken by it. So actually, I think that was quite high praise from them as well. So I think it can be surprising. And I think also because we're so close to London, that can be a surprise, that it is so full of countryside and beautiful landscapes. But people often think, oh, well, I'll go to London, but that's all I need to do. But actually, just going half an hour out and you're in a totally different landscape and exploring lots of different things as well.
Could you tell me a little bit about the walking festival and some of the history?
Yeah, so this is the second year that we've done it. So last year was our inaugural festival. I've only been in this role coming up to 2 months. It'll be 2 months in September that I've done this job. And it was a conversation with a lady called Chris Howard, who is the chair of Visit Surrey, the tourism organisation for Surrey, but also is involved with the Surrey Hills Society as well. And she had a chat. She said, are you aware that there was almost a Dorking walking festival? They were sort of planning to do it in 2020. And of course, we all know what happened then. So I think all the plans had been laid down. But then obviously, because of COVID, it never happened. And then, various things, change of personnel and just life moving on. It didn't happen. And from what I've described to you, I thought it was a bit criminal that there wasn't a walking festival in Dorking, because there are so many opportunities to just get out and explore nature there. But one of the other things, because obviously I'm very focused on the town centre. So the town centre is a business improvement district. For people that may not know what that is a designated area where businesses have come together and decided that they want a voice as one and to be able to do a bit more than what they might be able to do individually. So they have to vote for it every 5 years because they pay a levy to fund the activity. And we do lots of different things. So we do events and campaigns like the Walking Festival and, other seasonal events like Christmas. But we also do a lot of marketing around the town. We do a lot of advocacy for the businesses with sort of external organisations. And we do things around public realm. We've had new planters put in. We've just had a grant to renovate a garden area in the town as well. But our focus is very much on getting people to come in and visit our town. So we've devised this festival so that all of the walks start, finish or pass through the town centre in some way, because we want to show that it's actually really easy to get out and experience nature and experience the beautiful countryside from the town centre. So if you've got an hour at lunch, you can actually, from the town centre, get out in some lovely peaceful countryside very quickly. If you've got longer, you can explore further. But it's also just showing people that there's easy ways to connect with nature a bit more and enjoy the landscape around you. So that's how it sort of came about.
Could you give me some details on when it is, how long it is, some of the walks?
Yes, the actual walking week itself is running from the 19th of September for 9 days, basically. It encompasses 2 weekends and then the week in between. And it's part of a larger festival that we're running called the Good Living Festival. So the Good Living Festival is encompassing not just the walking week, but we've got a food and drink day where we've got a show kitchen and a food and drink market. We've got various creative wellbeing and cultural activities going on. It's National Heritage Week the week before, so there's quite a few events going on with that we're sort of including in this. But the walking week is 9 days of lots of different walks across the town. So We've got over 25 walks and a number of different organisations running them. We have the Mole Valley Ramblers. So Dorking is part of a district called Mole Valley. There's the River Mole that runs through it. So the Mole Valley Ramblers are running 5 hikes during the week. The Surrey Hill Society are running a walk. The museum are also doing a couple of heritage walks, more around the history of the town as well. We have a couple of forest bathing tasting sessions as part of it. We have a quiz walk. We have a fantastic quiz master in Dorking called Simon Edmonds, who does so much for the community, organises lots of charity events and is involved with lots of charities. And he is the quiz master extraordinaire, and he puts together a quiz. People meet in the pub, they go off, they solve the clues, and then they end up back at the pub for a well-deserved pint at the end of it. The Camera Club are organising a photography walk, so it's going around and pointing out things that might be of interest. And there's a lot of stuff when you look up in the town that you might not notice when you're just going from appointment to appointment in our busy lives and stuff. We have the South East Community Rail Partnership we have 3 stations in Dorking, one at one end of town and the other 2 at the other end of town. So they do a walk between them and go through a bit of the history of the railway in the area as well. Last year they did that as part of the Railway 200 thing, but it was really popular, so they're running it again. Hello Dorking, which is the organisation I represent, along with the Mole Valley Chamber of Commerce, we're doing a netwalking event as well, which is designed for business owners to get out and instead of networking, we do a walk at the same time. So it's a lovely way to sort of catch up. We've also got a family walk that is being organised by the nursery. That's going to be a little picture trail that they're going to put on there. There is also a ladies only walk of an evening, a hike with a group called Girls Alive that are very much about getting women fit and all the benefits of that. Another slightly quirky off-topic one is our local theatre Dorking Halls that also manage an arts centre called Pitbrook House are doing 2 film screenings during the week. One is a walk in the wood and the other is a Pilgrim's Way. So they do those as a sort of a slightly different way, but a way of them getting involved. And what we try and encourage is people to get involved in whatever way they can. And there are a couple of walks that are very accessible. The Surrey Coalition for Disabled People are running a walk that is accessible with anybody on wheels, basically. So there is really, and I know this is overused, this phrase, there is something for everyone on this walking week. We're very keen that everybody feels there is some way they can access. There's easy walks, there's a harder walk that is a Leatherhead to Dorking walk, which I think is about 10 miles, maybe wrong on that, maybe longer than that, but it's, that's a hefty walk. But there are ones that are just gentle strolls as well, and everything in between. So lots to explore.
Do people have to book for these, or is it just turn up?
It does vary. Some do need you to book, others you can just turn up. The majority of the walks are free. A couple of them are just a small charge for the walk, but it's all on our website. So we have a dedicated section to the walking week on hellodorking.com, and there's a banner on our homepage. You just click through and then you'll find all of the walks, and it says on there, it gives you the level of the walk, it tells you the meeting point and whether you need to book or not, and then how to book if you do need to book on. So yeah.
Is there a limit to the number of people on any of them?
Some of them there are. That tends to be the ones where they've asked people to book, but most of them, it's a decent number on a lot of them. And I know the quiz walk, I think, had about 50 people take part last year. So yeah, it really does vary. So it's best to look at the website and then see what it is. And if it is needing booking, get booked in early so that you don't miss out. But yeah, there's such a variety on there that you really will find something that will suit your needs on there as well.
What about dogs? Are they welcome on some or all?
Yeah, on a lot of them they are. And again, on the web page, there is a dogs allowed bit and it will say yes or no. But actually, the majority of the walks do accept dogs on them. So yeah, you can bring your pooch along. And obviously, there are a lot of dog owners. It's a great place to own a dog because you can be out in the countryside very quickly. And actually, Dorking has its own paw wash as well. But it is a little area where you can pop your dog in and clean them up before you go home and stuff. So yeah, it's well catered for dogs in Dorking.
Do you anticipate getting people from like the home counties, or is it more local?
Yeah, it was a mix of both last year. I mean, I think with all of these things, you're always going to have more of your locals taking part, but we did have people that were coming from North London and further afield to join in. So I think the great thing about Dorking, and with any of these walks, if you come and do, say, a walk in the morning or you're doing one later in the day, There are plenty of independent businesses to explore in Dorking as well. We've got a very high proportion of independent shops, which is quite unusual, and they're always worth a moot. We have a historic antiques quarter in Dorking as well, and again, you can lose hours exploring those shops and come away with some treasures. We have a number of pubs. We're also running a Grape and Grain Trail during the 2 weeks, so you can collect stamps to be entered into a prize draw for some local food and drink hampers, and lovely cafes and restaurants as well. So you can make a day of it, or even a few days. You know, if you're into your walking and you think, well, actually, there's a few walks there. We have the lovely White Horse Hotel right in the centre of the town, which is a great place to stay as well. So you could make this into a lovely short break in autumn once the schools have gone back and really enjoy the surroundings of Dorking and the Surrey Hills.
And of course, it's very easy to get to. You've got 3 train stations, as you mentioned.
Yes. There's a good line that goes in and out from London, so that's very easy. But we're also on the Reading to Gatwick line as well, which comes through Guildford and Redhill as well. So it is quite easy to get here by public transport. As you say, there's 3 stations to choose from. But also, you know, we're very close to the M25, the A25 and the A24 sort of cross-section at Dorking as well. So it is very accessible from all over the southeast and beyond.
What are some of your favourite places in the area to go walking?
Well, obviously Box Hill is the famous one, and you can't beat the views up there. But actually, one of the we've done 2 netwalking events so far, and both of those went sort of to areas that are perhaps not as well known. We went across the stepping stones, which are at the bottom of Box Hill at one of them, and actually that was a lovely walk. And again, lots of people on the walk who live and work in the area. It's always great when you hear people say, well, I never knew this was here, and now I do. I'll come back and explore. So, you know, that is always great. You know, Box Hill is obviously a draw and is obviously spectacular, but actually there's lots of other smaller areas. And we do have a park right in the centre of town called Meadowbank, which is beautiful. It's just had a new bandstand put in. So that's a really lovely haven. And there's also just an area just behind the high street, which is a residential area, and it's called Cotmandine, which is just a lovely green space. And if you go up there, you can get the views across the Surrey Hills. But also Dorking has a famous church, St Martin's Church, which has an extremely tall spire, and you get a fantastic view of there. So it's a great place to take a picnic up as well, and just have a wander up there as well. So yeah, lots of hidden gems, and also some of the more famous spots as well.
What was the reason for doing the festival in September? Because I know a lot of them are in the spring.
I think it was more timing last year, in that we wanted to do something last year, but because I was new in role, it was a little bit too early to get it done for the spring. But also I think it's about spreading things out. Quite often, if everything is at the same time, then nobody really benefits. It just sort of reduces who's taking part. And actually, that time of year is often a lovely time to get out and explore. It's a little bit cooler. I mean, in the southeast at the moment, we're experiencing an unbelievable summer of hot temperatures, and it's probably been like this since early May, heat wave after heat wave. So, you know, September can be a little bit cooler. You're starting just to see those changes in the seasons. You know, it's lovely to be able to witness that as well. Normally, it's a pretty decent month for weather. Schools have gone back, it may be a bit quieter. So, yeah, we feel it works quite well at that time of the year and complements perhaps the other offerings that are happening earlier in the year in the area as well.
There are so many in the spring that you're competing against 10 different festivals every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever time of the year, I mean, obviously in the UK, well, we're never guaranteed the weather, but we stand a better chance in sort of like May to September of getting some decent days. But yeah, you know, you're always going to find that there's something else going on. And that's another great thing I think about Surrey, is there is always stuff going on. And we do a weekly what's on each weekend for Dorking. And it always amazes me just how much is going on in your local areas. So it's always what I say to people is always just have a look, because you'll be surprised exactly what goes on locally, and seek these things out and support them, because that's what keeps our areas vibrant and people still wanting to come to them.
All right. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention that we hadn't talked about?
Just that we're really looking forward to the walking week again. It was really well received last year. We're really pleased to be running it again. And we're really pleased that it's part of something a bit bigger. So, when you come for the walks, you'll find that there's other stuff going on. We've got over the 2 weeks of the Good Living Festival, there's over 75 events and offers taking place in the town. So if you come to do a walk, do have a little look. You might be able to find that there's a food and drink offer for you afterwards, or you can go and visit the pubs on the Grape and Grain Trail. But, it is the sort of thing that you can come just for one event, or you could come and stay for several days and take part in a lot of things. And I think it just highlights exactly what a lovely area it is and how much is going on there as well.
I have actually been to Dorking. I worked in Crawley for a few years after returning to the UK, and one of my colleagues there was from Dorking, and she kept telling me that I had to walk Box Hill, and so eventually I did. Wow, it's a beautiful walk and stunning views from the top, and it's about an hour more or less from London Victoria, and I guess that depends on whether you get a train that stops everywhere or not. But Dorking and that part of Surrey is definitely beautiful. I had no idea before I went there. I did know it from a 10cc song though, from Rochdale to Ocho Rios. And if you didn't know, Ocho Rios is in Jamaica. Not a bad song either. Anyway, I'm digressing. I'm sure the walking festival in Dorking will be another big success, as it was last year. And so that's it for this week's podcast. If you do have news or suggestions for podcast guests, please do get in touch through jim@walkingpost.com. We're always looking for guests, whether it's about a new trail, a new book, a walking festival, or someone who's done an amazing, unusual, or interesting walk somewhere. So I hope you enjoyed this week's walkingpost.com podcast, and I hope you have a great week ahead, hopefully with a walk somewhere, whether it's in Foxhill, Oxhill, or indeed Box Hill. Until next time, happy trails! Walking Post from walkingpost.com is an Air Coastal Media Limited production.